4,000 Americans believed the system still worked when they filed corruption complaints against Congress. Mike Johnson, Trump's guy, spent 4 months making sure they were wrong. Not a single complaint can even be opened. So Mike Johnson, the man who claims to be guided by God himself, just pulled off one of the most brazen acts of corruption we have seen in Congress, and that is saying something. While you were busy trying to pay your bills and wondering why Washington feels more corrupt than ever, Johnson was systematically dismantling the one office that actually investigates congressional misconduct. 4,000 complaints. That's how many allegations of wrongdoing piled up, while Johnson deliberately left the Office of Congressional Conduct without the power to investigate a single one. Here's a quote from Michael Gold. Under House rules, the Office of Congressional Conduct cannot start inquiries, hire staff members, or take formal action on public complaints without a board named by the Speaker. Mr. Johnson did not do so until this month, the longest delay since the office was created. So, not a bureaucratic hiccup, not an oversight, the longest delay in 17 years. And Johnson? He won't even explain why. His office won't respond to questions. Because when you're busy protecting corrupt politicians, transparency isn't exactly high on your priority list. This is the same Mike Johnson who loves to wrap himself in scripture and talk about accountability. The same guy who clutches his pearls about the radical left destroying American values. Turns out the real threat to American values was coming from inside the Speaker's office all along. So let me break down what Johnson actually did here, because it's genuinely shocking even by today's standards. The Office of Congressional Conduct, the OCC, is supposed to be Congress's independent watchdog. Created after the Jack Abramoff scandal sent 3 members of Congress to prison, it's the one office that can actually investigate when representatives are taking bribes, breaking laws, or genuinely being the corrupt assholes we all know them to be. But here's the catch, it can't do anything without a board appointed by the Speaker. No board, no investigations. No investigations, no accountability. So what does Johnson do? He simply doesn't appoint anyone. For 4 months. January 2025, new Congress begins. Johnson has the power to appoint the board. February, nothing. March, still nothing. April, Democrats are getting pretty damn suspicious. Johnson? Silent. May, finally, after 4 months of complaints have piled up, he appoints 4 members to the 6-member board. 4 out of 6. Do you know why that matters? Because now they need unanimous agreement to conclude any investigation. One dissenter can kill any report. It's like requiring a jury to be unanimous, except the defendant gets to pick half the jurors. And those 4,000 complaints that accumulated, they're not parking tickets or dress code violations. We're talking about allegations of bribery, corruption, abuse of power, the kind of stuff that should end political careers. But Johnson made sure that none of them could even be looked at. Not one. Every single allegation of misconduct buried under bureaucratic sabotage. And this isn't Johnson's first rodeo with ethics manipulation either. Remember Matt Gaetz, the guy who was paying for sex with teenagers? Yeah. Johnson tried to block the release of that ethics committee report too. Only when the pressure became unbearable did that report finally see daylight, just in time for Christmas, after Gaetz had already withdrawn from being Trump's Attorney General. Noticing the pattern? But wait, it gets worse. Because this isn't happening in isolation. This is part of a coordinated assault on every single oversight mechanism in the government. Trump fires 17 inspectors general in his first days back in office. The FBI and DOJ dismantle their public corruption units. The Office of Government Ethics gets placed under control of random cabinet members. And now Johnson ensures Congress can't even police itself. It's almost like they're planning to do things that would require investigation. Weird, right? You know what's truly insane about this? well, somehow more insane than what's already going on. Republicans have been trying to kill this office for years. In 2017, they voted to gut it completely, placing it under control of the very ethics committee it was meant to bypass. They only backed down when Trump tweeted against it because the optics were looking so bad. In 2023, they passed rules requiring the office to hire staff within 30 days, knowing full well that that's nearly impossible in government hiring, basically setting it up to fail. And now Johnson has found the perfect workabout, the perfect meta. Just don't appoint anyone at all. Can't have an ethics scandal if there's no one to investigate ethics scandals, right? Even Porter Goss, a Republican who helped create the office in 2008, suggested that Johnson's delay was an intentional effort to undermine it entirely. When members of your own party are calling you out for corruption, you know you've crossed the line. I mean, they all know this. The entire Trump administration know what they're doing. They just don't care, because neither do their base. But here's what really pisses me off about this whole situation: the sheer contempt for the American people, for you. Every poll shows Americans think Congress is corrupt. Trust in government is at a historical low. People are struggling to survive while watching their representatives get mysteriously richer every year. And what does Johnson do? He makes sure the one office that might provide some accountability can't function. He looks at those 4,000 complaints from citizens, from people who still believe that the system might work, and says, "Fuck you, we're not even going to look at them." As Craig Holman has put it, the Trump administration has ushered in a whole new era in which ethics does not matter whatsoever. Ethics don't matter. That's the message. That's what Johnson is telling every American who thought their representative might face consequences for corruption. You can steal, you can lie, you can take bribes, and the Speaker of the House will make sure that no one investigates you. That's the new reality. At least some Democrats are trying to fight back. Representative Chris Pappas led a group demanding Johnson act. He wants to codify the office permanently so future speakers can't pull this shit. But let's be real, in a Congress where Republicans control everything and have shown zero interest in holding Trump accountable for anything, what are the chances of that happening? So here's where we are. The highest ranking Republican in the House just spent 4 months ensuring that congressional corruption couldn't be investigated. 4 months where any member of Congress could do virtually anything without fear of independent review. 4,000 Americans took the time to file complaints about their representatives. 4,000 people who still believe the system might just work. And Mike Johnson buried every single one. This is what corruption looks like in 2025. Not backroom deals or briefcases full of cash, though that's happening, just a speaker who refuses to appoint the people who could investigate those things. Democrats created this office in 2008 to combat corruption. When Republicans got power, they tried to destroy it. And when they failed, they just refused to let it function. That's not incompetence. That's not bureaucracy. That's deliberate, calculated corruption at the highest levels of government. Mike Johnson didn't drain the swamp. He made sure it could operate without any oversight whatsoever, and he did it while quoting scripture and claiming moral authority. If that doesn't make your blood boil, you're not paying attention. Because when the people charged with oversight are actively destroying oversight, there is no democracy anymore. We're left with a kleptocracy with better PR. And Mike Johnson? He's not a speaker. He's a mob lawyer with a gavel. The real question is, what are they planning that requires this level of cover? Because you don't destroy the watchdogs unless you're planning something the watchdogs could catch. Stay tuned, America. It's about to get a lot worse.